Hi there, Sarah Pirie-Nally here, and I wanted to show you really quickly one of my absolute favorite models in the whole entire world, one that I got taught many years ago when I first taught design thinking, because this simple thing has completely changed the way I manage my business and my life, and it's been incredibly effective in helping my clients also. So, at its simplest, the design thinking process can be split into what we call the double diamond. And that starts with discover and then define and then design and then deliver. And when I give people the 30 seconds, what is design thinking? I like to give them this simple analogy. If I ask you to give me a solution, your brain will give me a solution. If I ask you to solve a problem, your brain will start to think of solutions to the problem. But if I take your brain through a series of questions that help you open before you solve the problem, you're going to come at that with whole new heap of energy and ideas. It's not just going to be the first thing that pops into your head. So by design thinking is intentional thinking. It's about making you more intentional and more conscious as you go through the process. So you'll often in design come with a presenting problem. And the presenting problem, could be in your business, something like, I don't have as much cash flow as I would like. Now, in design thinking, we will say, okay, let's go through in a discovery phase and find out what is actually going on. So it's like a little bit of a diagnostic, if you like. But before we do that, we empathize. And this is what makes design thinking so incredibly unique. Because most of the time you would just diagnose the problem. So you'd go straight into the business and you would go, right, let's look at the cash flow problem and you'd start solving. But this actually takes a step back and goes, okay, well, who's affected by your business not having cash flow? And actually, you'll see that your partner is affected, your children are affected, your employees are affected. There's a whole heap of different humans who are affected by the cash flow in the business. And it's interesting if we then take some time to actually ask them some questions. So tell me, partner, how does this cash flow problem affect you? What are you observing? What are you observing, kids? What are you observing, employees? What are some of the things that you're observing? And from these questions that we designed to get insight, we get to harvest a whole heap of really amazing insight, which then becomes a set of ingredients that we get to put in as we start to really define what problem we're trying to solve. And so, with this presenting problem of cash flow, we may get some insights around there's lots of stress. The children have noticed that, you're working longer hours. Um, your employees have noticed that you've started delaying paying invoices, and that's making them uncomfortable. So there's like some stuff that's sort of coming up. And so when we go to define, we've now used our empathy to create some choices so that we can actually decide what's the problem we're actually trying to solve here. It's presenting as a cash flow problem, but it's actually manifesting as a really uncomfortable business. Things aren't in flow in business because it's now affecting family as well as employees. And so we've actually got a business health problem, potentially. This is what we could kind of say. When we get to defining, we actually set, this new challenge. So we say, how might we improve the health of this business? That could be like one way of framing the question. And as I often say, in Stanford, people literally get taught over semesters and semesters how to actually design really great questions because a really great design question invites your brain to solve the problem. So spending a lot of time really defining what is the problem I'm trying to solve is half of it. Because as soon as you actually define the problem that you're trying to solve, you've then got the opportunity to start to solve it. So the second part of the design thinking diamond is about designing and then delivering. And actually, one of the reasons why I am super grateful that I've had a lot of time in delivery in big organizations is that if design is not embedded into the organization, really great ideas actually just go and die. Whereas if we actually take the time to brainstorm ideas around how might we improve the health of this business, and there's lots of really great techniques that we can use in design thinking that help us brainstorm ideas. One is Crazy Eights, where we literally just take time to fill in on a page as many ideas as we can that solve this problem. And that might be, okay, if we improve the health of this business, we want to increase cash flow. That's one of them. But we also want to increase or decrease stress. And we also want to improve the employee experience. And we also want to improve relationships with clients. And so as we kind of go through here, we realize that actually, while it feels logical to really push the pedal and go harder to get more cash flow to make the business healthier, what actually might be the right next move is to focus on reducing stress and making the people healthier. Because healthy people are going to have more energy to put into clients to improve the cash flow. And so that idea of like, what problem are we trying to solve and where do we start is really what we're trying to do as designers. So what we'll do then is we'll come up with a whole heap of different prototypes or ideas or experiments. And I like to list those in a bit of an experiment register. I often call that like my kind of idea matrix or my prototyping zone or the wonder zone. And we'll start to test those really, really quickly. So we want to do things like just for this week, just for today, really simple little experiments. Just for today, I'm actually going to not check my emails every day and focus more on making sure that my family has a really good day. Oh, look at that. Just by not checking my emails for a day and making sure my family had a good day, I actually had a good day, which put me in a better mood, which made me more creative, which made me remember that client that I wanted to talk to after that lunch that I went to. And I send them an email and they come back and say, actually, Sarah, I was thinking of you too. Why don't we do some business? Oh, look at that. So we run a series of rapid experiments and we look for the tiny shoots. We look for tiny little data that's actually giving us insight. And it has to be truth. That's a little flower. It's annoying that's a little bit blurry in the background here, but you get the point. Um, we're looking to harvest those things. And once we've harvested things that show enough promise and that are giving us enough insight that this thing is working, we then move into delivery. And for me, this is where you've got your go-to-market or your, continuous improvement or your implementation, whatever that kind of like delivery looks like. And one of the things I'm obsessed with is the idea that we are relentless in our quest for continuous improvement. Like we should just always be trying to make things better. That is just my absolute obsession is making sure that we make things better. So the scribbles in the background basically tell this story. When we do things by design, we find better ways to make things better. For me, it's that simple. Every single day, you get up and you are using your brain in the way that your brain has been built, which is to stay alive and to follow the patterns and to, stay out of as much trouble as you can. But unfortunately, the game's changing and you need to start thinking differently. So to think differently, just start asking yourself these questions. What problem am I really trying to solve? Who are the people who are also affected by this problem? What's the real problem that we're trying to solve? Where do we start? How do we create a whole heap of experiments that give us opportunities to harvest new data and insights that we can then take through to delivery once we've figured out what the real stuff is that's actually going to help move the dial? And if you just do this, you're not only going to change your business, you're also going to change your life. And of course, there will be the overflow. The overflow is the good stuff that also happens for all the other people in the ecosystem who are affected by these problems, whether you like it or not. And that for me is the Evolve XOS. The Evolve XOS isn't just a process, it's not just a coaching program, it's not just a community. I like to think in ecosystems. And so what we've done is we've established a community of really amazing humans who love to do this. They love to live life more intentionally and to ask more questions and to actually do things by design. We've got our mastermind, we've got our incredible retreats and experiences that we run around the world from Fiji to Antarctica. We're going to Turkey and Istanbul next year, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. So, so excited. And at a very, very base layer, I love to start with a really, really simple design audit. With a design audit, because I've been doing this for 15 years, I very, very quickly can see where you are caught in a little pothole and potentially solving the wrong problem. So I can help you just redirect your energy and figure out where to go to next. If you'd like to dive a little bit deeper, we can actually do a bit of a blueprint and figure out what your life and business by design could look like. So if you'd like to book one of those sessions with me, please do. I froth over and love doing this work. And because I've done it for so many years, it really is just such an enjoyable experience for me. We will teach you in these experiences how to empathize, how to design intentionally, and of course, how to experiment relentlessly, because those three energies really are what the Evolve XOS is all about. Hope that's been fun. It's been fun for me, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Bye.